For decades now, the government, donors, charitable and non-governmental organizations have invested billions of shillings in arid and semi-arid areas to alleviate the suffering of starving populations. Dozens of these organizations have mobilized funds to finance projects with a promise to change the tide in the dry lands towards food sustainability. Decades later, the narrative remains the same and in some instances even worse. Sam Gituku looks at what now appears a perennial curse worth billions of shillings, asking where are the billions?
A donation of 20 million Kenya shillings.
For many Kenyans, the Kenyans for Kenya initiative of 2011 remains fresh. A country so touched that it raised $1 billion shillings in aid of starving Kenyans, majority of them in Turkana County. But even before then, the said arid and semi-arid counties had always struggled with dry spells, requiring intervention from government and non-government organizations. In 2011, the Kenya Red Cross Society unveiled a few agricultural projects in the north, produced food for local communities, but later moved out, leaving the projects to collapse.
The problem is the farms. Sustaining it has been a major challenge. We've done it, for about 4 seasons, but it needs a lot of investment, and between Lodwar and Kaikor itself is almost half a day's journey, if not longer, by road.
And yet, dozens of non-governmental organizations have been mobilizing funds from donors, promising to invest in local communities for sustainable food production.
The government needs to do an audit of the resources that come in, vis-a-vis what trickles down into the communities, and look at the vehicles that people drive and the salaries and so forth, and evaluate and take cognizance of the fact that, if we have organizations that are not supporting the people on the ground and they are mobilizing the resources in the name of those communities, then something is wrong.
This in a country that has at least 4 agencies devoted to addressing needs of the arid and semi-arid lands. They include the National Disaster Management Authority, the Strategic Food Reserve, ASAL Department at the Devolution Ministry, the Kenya Red Cross and dozens of NGOs. NDMA reports that so far at least 2.7 billion shillings has been released to the same. That the national government released 1.3 billion shillings for a response between February and April 2019. 601 million shillings has been released for hunger and safety net, and a further 600 million shillings devoted to excavation of water pans for households. Analysts saying 2.7 billion shillings should have been used to prepare for the current situation with tangible programs.
We need to shift away from responding to ensuring that resilience is in place, so that after the next 2 years we should not be talking about an appeal to mobilize food for the people. Drought resilient plants, green grams and millet and sorghum, these will be much better for those kind of conditions as opposed to maize. But the people need to be guided. This is what is very, very key. But if we did a mapping of these organizations and find out who has the strength of what, then that is when we need to be able to focus on.
In the current financial year, the government allocated at least 10.8 billion shillings for the same. 4.4 billion shillings meant for hunger safety net, 5 billion shillings for contingency, while 1.4 billion shillings was assigned to the Strategic Food Reserve. And now the Kenya Red Cross has launched an appeal for 824 million shillings. The appeal receiving a backlash on social media, some Kenyans questioning the role of the government and the credibility of organizations tasked with responding to drought situations.
We have the county government, we have experts on the ground who should be able to go in and ensure that what is put in place is carried into the future. That is where I think we missed the boat.
We can use science and technology and information to deal with these issues before they happen, so that we don't get here every now and then.
Should the script remain intact, Kenya and Kenyans could be in the vicious cycle for the long haul. Sam Gituku, Citizen TV.